President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to Nigeria after a 6-day working visit to China. The president received assurances on the Mambila Power project while in China, and the oil and gas sector also received growing interest from investors in China. MTN is back in the news, and this time the Central Bank of Nigeria has fined 4 banks to the tune of 5.87 billion naira for breach of capital importation policy. British Airways says it was hacked with details of 380,000 passengers stolen. This is Business Express, reaching you from the network service of the NTA. I am Amina Nujeng. President Muhammadu Buhari has received desired assurances from the joint venture partners assigned to construct the Mambila hydropower project that all processes leading to the start of the work are nearing completion for the actualization of the scheme beginning early next year. This was at an interactive meeting with the management of the construction firm led by its president in Beijing. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president also received many other prospective Chinese investors.
Meetings with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang, President Muhammadu Buhari had solicited the support of the Chinese authorities to adequately fund the execution of the Mambila Power project, which he described as a key priority of his administration. Barely 24 hours after the high-level talks, the management of the Chinese consortium, CGCC, is here to brief the president on the timelines for the commencement of work on the project. Leader of the delegation, Professor Liu Zhejiang, told the Nigerian leader that a team had already been set up to work on financial requirements, saying in 2 weeks' time they will meet the Nigerian officials and project consultants to chart the best way forward as instructed by the Chinese leader. He said in view of the significance of the project to the socio-economic well-being of Nigeria, their target is to commence work early next year after putting in place supporting infrastructure such as access roads, power, water, and transport facilities. President Buhari described as pleasing the Chinese government commitment to the project, but made a case for speedy execution. The president also met separately with prospective investors and assured them of high-level support for their investment plans in Nigeria. The Rui Group, for instance, led by Mr. Yafu Kui, had come with a plan to invest $200 million on Kano Industrial Park, cotton farms in Funtua and Katsina, as well as textile and garment manufacturing plants in Abia and Lagos states. The management of telecom giants Huawei, responsible for the execution of the second phase of the National Information and Communications Technology Backbone Project, valued at $328 million, signed between Nigeria and China last Wednesday, also visited the president. The president of the company, Ye Ziyang, announced plans to train 10,000 Nigerian talents in ICT each year to work anywhere in the world. President Buhari said the ICT infrastructure backbone project will not only provide opportunities for the Nigerian youth, but also support the institution of e-governance in the country to help in achieving transparency and fighting corruption. Similarly, top executive officers of Cytec Group, who were also received by the president, indicated interest to invest in Nigeria's real sector, finance, infrastructure, agriculture, and telecommunications. From Beijing, China, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has signed several agreements with various Chinese companies aimed at enhancing Nigeria's oil and gas industry for sustainable growth and development of the economy. Group Managing Director of the corporation, Dr. Mekan Tibaru, told newsmen in Beijing that the agreement includes the one on developing the nation's oil field service, as well as boosting research and development in the oil and gas sector.
It's Mr. President's commitment to the Paris Agreement on climate change that we should blend our various automotive fuels with these biofuels so that we can reduce the carbon footprint and also produce less toxic combustion gases from the various automobiles in Nigeria. That will help in keeping and preserving the health of people. Mr. President is very much committed to them. In addition, they are going to be a heavy source of employment, because each of the plants will see to the employment directly or indirectly of about 1 million.
Also told newsmen that NNPC has secured the unflinching commitment of its Chinese counterpart for adequate financing and execution of the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano pipeline projects. He said the October deadline has been fixed for the groundbreaking ceremony of the project, which he described as very dear to Nigeria. Nwabu Lagbosi Noka is a trade and investment lawyer. He is the executive director and Nigeria Private Sector Alliance, and joins us to discuss the enabling environment to maintain agreements signed in China. You are welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
Nigeria has signed so many agreements when the president was in China. What do you make of all these MOUs that were signed?
It's basically to stimulate the economic growth of Nigeria, and also to create more market opportunities for Nigeria private sector and businesses, in order for us to benefit from all these agreements. So it's for the good of the Nigerian business owners and the small and medium enterprises, as it were.
Now, how sustainable is this considering the Nigerian economy?
Yeah, it's all effort towards ensuring that we have we integrate properly into what we call the global value chain, because we don't depend on ourselves alone. We depend on each other through the process of globalization. So when these processes of agreements and negotiations are on, it is basically to improve the economic well-being of citizens. So the government is working in the right direction to see that they create that kind of opportunities for our own business owners, or our own businesses, our industries and manufacturers, in order for them to take advantage of the global market space.
Now, considering the fact that so many countries in terms of globalization are at various stages of development, do you see us making progress?
Yeah, China will always tell us, and we believe, because they are also a developing country as we are also developing, but they always tell us about a win-win approach. And so we want to see ourselves as equals, even in the word of Paul Kagame of Rwanda, that China-Africa relations is among equals. So we want to believe that there's no much gap between our level of development, but the consciousness is that how do we catch up with the speed with which China is going. So I think it's about speed and willingness of our own people to also catch up with the speed that China is carrying on. Otherwise, there's not much of a gap that we can say, let's sit down and start lamenting that China is ahead. Thank you.
You mentioned about speed.
Yes.
Can you expatiate on that?
I talked about speed of development, speed of innovation, speed of industrialization, speed in terms of human development, speed in terms of response to market demand. You know, you have citizens that are responding to market availability of product, and so, I mean, that's what China is mostly doing right now. They are responding to consumer need, consumer taste, consumer request. So that's the speed I'm talking about. So it's about how do we meet up the request or the demand or the urge for our citizens to get access to product, get access to quality service, get access to the best that life can offer them. So that's just the speed about it.
Okay, a lot of agreements were signed in the energy sector. Considering the fact that Nigeria is an oil-rich economy, what would you make of the multiplier effects?
Yeah, I would not advocate strongly for a China Energy Pact or MOU, where we have, we've been oil dependent over the years, and so if we follow what the current government is also doing, is how we can begin to move on to the non-oil sector. But signing agreement to stimulate our oil and gas industry, which is where at the moment we have the bulk of our energy, we have the bulk of our resources and revenue. It is also a good one in order for us to have additional major partners who at our beck and call to buy our products, because statistics have also shown over time now that our sales or our relationship with the US is also dropping, and so China provides an alternative market for the Nigerian oil and gas sector.
Onwebu Labrosi Nuka, a trade and investment lawyer, it's a pleasure to have had you on the program today.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You can reach us via email, and the address is businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. Follow us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, #NTABizExp. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo Thursday inaugurated another batch of trader money at the Utako market in the Federal Capital Territory. The federal government scheme is aimed at empowering 2 million macro and small business owners across the country.
You pay back in 6 months, then in fact you can pay back before 6 months, then you get 15. If you pay back, you get 20. We want to encourage traders, so that they will have money, enough money to do their business, enough money to sell.
The Nigerian Statistical Association, NSA, says it has become imperative for Nigeria to ensure stronger institutions to guarantee sustainable economic growth. Moplang Dakok in Oka, the capital of Anambra, reports that the association at its annual conference is charting a course for a holistic development.
Speakers at the conference observed that the concerted effort of the government at arresting the initial economic downturn has yielded positive results. They, however, noted that the icing on the cake would be to intensify certain reforms, which must include strengthening of institutions in the country.
As a government of change, we are happy to associate with an organization that also sees itself as an agent of change.
First, without statistics, economic policy formulation will be vacuous, planning will be haphazard, and monitoring and evaluation will be reduced to a blindfold walk.
Investing in our people and having a virile economy that is globally competitive will not be achieved without adequate, timely, and reliable statistics.
President of the association, Professor Sidney Oyegu, appealed for a fast track of the reintroduction of statistics as a core subject in secondary schools.
Also, to establish a stable economy, attention should be given to...
Highlights of the conference include the investiture of new fellows into the association.
How does one prioritize spending? What are the factors to consider when making expenses? Bosede Abel was earlier on the streets in Abuja and brings us the answer to the question, what will you do with 1 million naira?
Being rich and having lots of money is everybody's desire. But having lots of money and knowing what to do about it is a different ball game altogether. Now I'm at Area 10 UTC, where market is booming, and we need to know what people will do with 1 million naira if they have it. Come with me. Now, Victor, if you're given 1 million naira, what would you do with it?
I will invest into agricultural business. Agricultural business like piggery. Like now, if you buy a foreign pig is 100,000. A foreign pig. If you get one, and a pig can give birth up to 16 children.
Invest, business. I'll do business with it, yes. Provision, if people always want to eat.
I will split it into 3, and as a good law-abiding citizen, the first thing I'll do is to go to any of the IDP camps and give them a piece.
You can start Januaries with your shop with 1 million naira. You can rent a shop, then you get the business starts.
I have projects in mind that even 1 million will not be enough. So if I have 1 million naira, at least it will go a long way.
I've always dreamed of having my own, like selling a restaurant. I think that is what really pays more, because food is something we all definitely going to eat every day. I'm not saying other businesses are bad, but I just feel food, restaurants, is going to fetch me more money.
1 million is a big money in Nigeria now. Give me 1 million now, I can use 200,000 to start my business, use the rest to printing business, as you can see, stamp, seal. Then I'll use the rest to train my family.
I will use and buy land, sponsor my younger one for school, buying food for my parents.
You can, set up a business, because with that business, you will go abroad. You will travel to anywhere you want to go to.
Well, as you've already heard from the respondents, different strokes for different folks. 1 million naira could go a very long way in changing the lives of so many people. Now, I'm throwing the question back to you. What would you do with 1 million naira? From UTC here in Area 10, I am Bosede Ebo.
Well, Bosede, let's see after the program. Ogbinaya Orokpa is a socio-economic commentator and joins us to discuss Nigeria's spending habits. What will you do with 1 million naira?
Thank you, Amina. First of all, I'll seek knowledge. The good book says knowledge is profitable to direct. Just listening to the intro you gave, a lot of Nigerians lack capacity. I'm not just talking about the graduates that we churn out of the universities each year, 300,000 coppers every year mobilized. My concern is how much capacity have we built. So you see employers saying you have issues with employability skills. A greater risk really is when you look at, except the NYSC and a few other organizations where you have skill acquisition going on in the orientation camps, I still have a challenge with how many of our young people apply such knowledge. A lot of people just told you in the news report that they want to set up a restaurant. They think 1 million is big money. 1 million is no big money. 1 million can go down the drains if you don't know what to do with it. Yes, it's big money, so to speak, but if you don't know how to apply it. So it's important that people get the right capacity, they get the right knowledge, and they get a business mentor. If they do not have a business mentor, they're going to self-destruct and use the money wrongly, misapply the money, and then they will think it's witches and wizards that are doing that.
So having money and knowing what to do with it is obviously an issue. So what should one be considered, should consider when having money and trying to solve the problem of what do I do with this?
Okay, I would say that you need to always do an environmental scanning of wherever you are. I just came out of a WhatsApp conference with a group of business people across the country, and what I discovered is that we're discussing pricing. But I decided to start them off from product. What's a product before you even put a price? You need to understand your business, you need to understand the environment before you fix a price. Some get money and do not know that the money in their hands is a seed, an investable fund that you need to put in the ground or put in a business. But before you even get into a business, you need to understand that business. One of the richest businessmen in Nigeria will tell you he would never go into the production of any particular product until he has sold it for 10 years. I'll give you an example. This is the product of a core member. I've always shared this from the camp. Now, smart enough to get into the varieties, and these are things you can find in our environment. This is kuli kuli, this is gari, this is sugar, and these are things that are here. Almost every local government area in Nigeria produces one thing. Now, as I heard you discussing with the issue of China, we've had cause to discuss that together. At the rate you're going with 1.4 billion people in China and with your 198 million people, if you don't strategize, because it's not the big that is the small, it's the fast that is the slow. If you don't position to find out where this rice is in DAS and find out Amina and the over how many staff in NTA that may be needing rice and provide them with this rice and package it better than we see it as raw as it is now, you're not likely to compete with goods that are coming from China. You get swallowed up. You know, it's not just China, Thailand, and the rest of them. So this is my backyard. This is Ogo. I know a staff of an MDA that earns about 1.2 million from Ogo every month. Now, that is more than anybody. Some directors don't earn as much as that if they ever do. So it's a question of need analysis. Scan your environment. There are three things that will always succeed in a recession-prone economy. Food, health, and education. And if you are ready to dirty your hands, like I will always say, my people say, "Aka jaja with ronomano money, standing hand begets an oily mouth." If you're not ready to dirty your hands to go and plant curry leaf and use this curry leaf, knowing what to use curry leaf to do, cook stew, and then advertise yourself. Someone said if you're doing a business and not advertising it, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Only you know what you're doing, no one else does. So this is Chuang scent leaf, and you don't know you can use it to do yam porridge, and you're busy looking for where to pay 3,000 for in an eatery. At your own risk, your salary will not take you to the end of the month.
I have to ask you this question. We have the issue of compulsive spending. In all of this, how do we check that?
It's as simple as knowledge again. I will usually say that the internet is your friend, but I go speaking in some places, and some above 30s, not the millennials, will tell you, I don't want to be on Facebook, I don't want to be on internet. But you forget that you can use your phone. Kiyosaki said, if the phone you're carrying in your hand does not make you money, throw it away. Meaning that there are resources on the internet. You can Google planning. It's about planning. People don't fail to plan. They don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. So it's as simple as downloading resources that on your phone, even with hand, let's even leave the phone, pen and paper. You can write down, my salary is 100,000 a month. You're not going to be shopping in the same place where Amina, big woman Amina with her big salary, goes to shop. Choose the right market. Maybe go to a bush market and go and buy. Plan very well. And compulsive spending is that it's not everything you see. My people, yes, you say, I the first chop before month to go chop. But it's not everything you see you buy. You will keep begging your colleagues till the end of the month. You will be a beggar.
Obinaya Orapa, always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
Asian markets are trading on mixed sentiments Friday, while American stocks recorded marginal gains on Thursday. Bosede Abel gives us the figures.
On the global scene, stocks market maintained mixed trend. In Africa, Thursday 6 September, the South Africa FTSE JSA Africa Top 40 rose by 60.41 points to 50,893.14. Namibia Overall Index 12.07 points to 1,288.84. And Ghana's GSE Composite Index also appreciated 0.47% to close at 2,775.62. While Tunisia's Tunidex fell 2.96%, and Kenya's Nairobi All Share also declined 0.29% and closed 165.15. In Europe, stocks closed lower Thursday on the back of ongoing concerns over potential new U.S. tariffs on China and a sell-off in emerging markets. DAX declined 0.71%, FTSE 100 0.87%, and CAC 40 0.31%. In the United States, stocks mostly fell as tech shares added to steep losses seen in the previous session, while global trade fears lingered. Dow Jones Industrial Average slightly gained 0.08% and closed 25,995.87, while Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 72.45. Also, the S&P by 0.37% and closed 2,878.05. Asia stocks were lower Thursday on continued emerging market fears and followed a sell-off in tech stocks overnight on Wall Street. Nikkei ended the day down by 0.41%, Shanghai Composite 0.47%, and the Hang Seng Index also lost by 269.03 points.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed in the negative today. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has debited the accounts of 3 banks to the tune of 5.61 billion naira, being the total amount of fines it imposed on them last week for alleged illegal repatriation of funds. Last week, the regulator imposed 5.87 billion naira fines on 4 banks for what it described as flagrant violation of extant laws and regulations of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including the Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Malicious Provisions Act of 1995 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Foreign Exchange Manual of 2006. It also directed the banks and MTN Nigeria Communications Limited to refund to the Apex Bank the sum of $8.1 billion, which was said to have been illegally repatriated by the company. Well, that's about the size of our package this week. Keep a date with us on Monday. Have a lovely weekend and thank you for watching.